Did I make a mistake? There's just one question I can't get out of my mind after talking with friends and family members or reading a bunch of Reddit threads over the weekend, and that's the question of, should you wait for the iPhone 12 Pro Max? And it's not that the iPhone 12 Pro is bad by any means, it's just that those exclusive Pro-end features might really be worth the wait. So in this video, I'm breaking down a couple of reasons for both sides, why you should wait for the 12 Pro Max, and also why you shouldn't bother waiting for the 12 Pro Max, because the last thing that you want to do is make my mistake. So after spending a few days with the all-new iPhone 12 Pro, there are a couple of big takeaways that I immediately have that make me both very excited and also a little nervous to really get my hands on that new iPhone 12 Pro. Right off the bat, the first thing I love with this iPhone 12 series is the new industrial design, and like it or not, Apple is kind of taking some cues from the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 5 series and giving it a little bit of a fresh interpretation now in 2020, and what you've got on the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro is a phone that looks and feels like no other iPhone we've had, at least for the past couple of years. Sharp corners, boxy edges, it's a more flat iPhone, gone are kind of the curved edges. Even talking with people on the team and talking with friends and family who have the phone, everyone agrees that it feels unlike an iPhone we've had, as I activate the flashlight, unlike anything we've had over the past couple of years, which is something I really like. Although the stainless steel on the edge of the iPhone 12 Pro is a bit of a fingerprint magnet, I still do like the way it looks. And oh yes, I'm glad that ceramic shield is there because I've already had to kind of put it to use. But as much as I love this design on the 12 Pro and this form factor, I am a little concerned to see what that's going to translate over to with the iPhone 12 Pro Max. We've heard from some people online, including some people that talk to Max Weinbach, that this iPhone 12 Pro Max feels very big. It's a little chunky, it's a little large, and although I really love kind of the more squared off edges and this more boxy feeling, I am afraid it will be a little uncomfortable on a phone as large as that 6.7-inch iPhone 12 Pro Max. Obviously, this is going to depend on, your interpretation of the phone and how comfortable it is or uncomfortable it is for you, but I will say after using this phone, I am a little more than curious to get my hands on it and see what it really feels like, because I do think for some people, it might just feel a little too uncomfortable. And just as purely kind of anecdotal personal experience, not that this is a direct correlation, but after having used those iPhone 12 dummies that we had, the 12 Pro Max in the dummy size felt large, but not too big. It didn't feel too big or unmanageable or uncomfortable. I know some people are concerned that the kind of boxy edges might kind of cut into your hands on a phone that large. That was not my experience, so again, these are dummy units and not the real deal. But I do think if you're curious about this phone, you might want to try it before you buy it, just to make sure it feels good in the hand and make sure it's not too uncomfortable or just too big. Next, let's talk screen size, one of the biggest reasons to go for or go against the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And I'll just kind of say from personal experience, I have always typically tended to be a person who went for the larger phone. I always had the Plus variant. I always went for the larger iPhone to get those extra features. But then the iPhone 10 was sort of a forced reset. There was only one size of that phone, so I was kind of forced to go down to a smaller form factor. The next year with the XS, I did go with the XS Max, but then with the 11 series, I went back to the 11 Pro because I just preferred that smaller 5.8-inch form factor. This year, I did opt to go with the 6.1-inch iPhone 12 Pro, which I feel like is almost the perfect screen size. Kind of like Goldilocks. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's right in the middle and just right. And remember that the iPhone 11 only came in that 6.1-inch screen size, and if you remember how Apple kind of positioned and marketed the iPhone 11 as kind of the default iPhone option that everyone would love and use and buy, I think that Apple put a lot of thought and probably even more money into researching screen sizes and finding that 6.1 seems to be kind of the perfect sweet spot screen size for most people. Not too big that it's just kind of too big to fit in your pocket and unmanageable, but not too small where you feel like you're missing out on something if you want to watch a lot of videos or play games. I certainly like this screen size, but I know that's not the case for many people, not even close. Many people really enjoy the largest screen size they can possibly get, and when it comes to the iPhone, you now have the 6.7-inch iPhone 12 Pro Max, which boasts the largest screen ever put on an iPhone. And that's gonna be great if you want to watch a lot of movies or if you wanna play games. This is equipped with Apple's Super Retina XDR display. It's an OLED panel. It's going to look fantastic, bright, vibrant, colorful. You kind of know the drill. Not too many differences here between the 12 Pro Max and the 12 in terms of screen size, but if you are someone who wants to have a larger screen on your iPhone, then you're gonna wanna go with the Pro Max. That's kind of the easy decision. Though I think that if you're on the fence about a larger screen or not, the other features that the Pro has exclusively might just sway you one way or the other. The differences here between the Pro or the Max or the Plus version of the iPhone compared to the others in the lineup is going to be a difference with camera. But unlike other years and in years past, this is not just the addition of an extra lens. This is much, much more than that. Now, to be clear, the iPhone 12 Pro does have camera upgrades of its own. It has a faster main shooter that's able to capture more light, a little less than 30% more light than what we've seen in years past, and it's a great phone with a great camera. And I've done some side-by-side comparisons between the 11 Pro and the 12 Pro, and a full detailed video we will link to up here and down below. But the short of it is, the difference between the 11 Pro and the 12 Pro is not super noticeable. The 12 Pro does have a better camera, but it's going to be much more noticeable if you're coming from anything before an 11 series, a 10S, a 10R, an iPhone 8, anything older, even, you know, there's some 6S and 7 holdouts. This is going to be a huge camera upgrade that is going to make it well worth it. But I think a jump to the 12 Pro Max might be an even bigger deal just because of all those special features that you get on the Max that you don't get on the regular Pro. That's because the main camera on the iPhone 12 Pro Max can not only capture more light, but it has a physically larger sensor, which is not only, again, gonna help it kind of in low light scenarios, you get even more light into that sensor, but it's gonna result in higher quality photos, better detail, better sharpness, presumably better color reproduction. It should be a very big difference maker, giving the 12 Pro Max an advantage over the other iPhones. That larger sensor should be a direct correlation to better images you're gonna be able to get on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now, the 12 and 12 Pro both do share the same software processing, HDR3. They both have Deep Fusion available on all the cameras. That's the same, but that's not all. The Pro Max has some other differences that make it an even better, more versatile camera than the other iPhones in the lineup. You're going to have Apple's new sensor shift stabilization technology, which is going to stabilize the sensor itself and not the lens that we have on the 11 Pro and the 12 Pro and other iPhones. Now, I guess, again, personally, I haven't noticed these stabilization to be bad in the 12 Pro or other iPhones in years past, but this sensor shift stabilization technology should kind of take it to the next level on the Pro Max if you want to, you know, get long exposure shots and keep your iPhone from shaking, able to capture more light. That larger sensor and better stabilization should help with that. Faster action photos. If you do a lot of video work and you're moving around, that stabilization should be better thanks to that new unique stabilization hardware only in the 12 Pro Max. The Pro Max also has a 65mm telephoto lens that is only on that phone. So if you really value zoom in your camera and you want the absolute most optical and digital zoom possible in an iPhone, the 12 Pro Max is going to be it. It's the only one that has that upgraded telephoto lens, which is going to give you a little bit more zoom compared to the other iPhones, specifically the iPhone 12 Pro. Video here also tells a pretty similar story. Again, software processing wise, they both have HDR3. They can both shoot Dolby Vision HDR up to 60 frames per second. But again, I think we are going to see some differences with that physically larger sensor, plus the new stabilization technology, and that extra telephoto lens, which will give you a little bit more versatility when shooting with the Pro Max that you're not gonna get on the regular iPhone 12 Pro. And I think all of this leads to a couple of big questions we just really want answers to. Is the larger sensor going to make a super noticeable difference in photo quality and video quality between the 12 and 12 Pro? Is it only going to make a difference in kind of less ideal lighting scenarios and night mode? Kind of we expect that. Is it going to be a huge difference when shooting in daylight and, you know, outdoors? Is that stabilization technology that's only in the Pro Max really that much better than the OIS we have in the 12 Pro and the 11 Pro and other iPhones? And is that telephoto lens really going to give you that much more versatility than the telephoto lens we have in the 12 Pro? These are questions we desperately want answers for that we just don't know until we can really get our hands on these phones and do testing for ourselves. But the camera upgrades here for the 12 Pro Max are significant. Personally, for me, as someone who only carries this set of cameras in my pocket at any given time, I really do value versatility, and I really tend to go with the best choice possible. But I don't know if those differences are enough to make me want to sacrifice on form and functionality from the 12 Pro to go with the Pro Max. I love what those cameras give you, but I'm just not sure I'm sold on the difference being worth it to go to a larger screen size iPhone and have to carry that phone around with me everywhere that I go. I cannot imagine that a almost 50% larger physical sensor in the 12 Pro Max does not make a significant difference when compared to the 12 Pro. I just think it's gonna be really up to you to justify whether that difference in camera quality is really worth it for the sacrifices you have to make to carry an iPhone that large, and also the price tag that goes along with it. Besides the camera stuff, there is a lot here that's the same on the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max. LiDAR is here and it works exactly the same. Both phones have 6 gigs of RAM, they've got the A14 processor, they're 5G capable. I mean, functionally, when you use these phones, despite the camera upgrades, they're gonna work exactly the same way. They can run the same apps, they can do the same things, you can edit photos in Apple Pro RAW. None of that is going to change, but there is one more inherent advantage the iPhone 12 Pro Max is going to have that you cannot get on the 12 Pro, and that's going to be battery life. Now, this is a bit of a touchy subject because we have seen some battery results come out for the 12 Pro and how it compares to other phones, and it's sort of a mixed bag depending on when you're using 5G or if you're in 4G LTE mode, and there's a lot of different variables, but here's what we're expecting. The 12 Pro Max will have a larger battery than that found inside the iPhone 12 Pro, but also smaller than what we saw on last year's 11 Pro Max. Apple's hoping that the A14's efficiency is going to help it deliver about the same, if not maybe slightly better battery than that on the 11 Pro Max, but it's gonna, again, depend on when you're using 5G, if you're using millimeter wave, if you're on Wi-Fi. There's a lot of different variables on that, but we are expecting battery life to be better on the Pro Max than it is on the iPhone 12 Pro. You are going to have a larger screen. There is, kind of more energy involved in that, but it is going to be better than on the 12 Pro. So if you really do value battery life and you want the absolute most battery out of an iPhone, then you're gonna have to go with the biggest option to get the biggest battery. Okay, so we've talked similarities, we've talked differences. Now, what's the verdict? Should you wait or should you not? And I think the better question is not if you should wait or not, but you have to ask yourself this: how do you feel about larger screens? Do you like larger screened iPhones or do you not? Because if you like an iPhone with a larger display, then the choice is pretty obvious. Go with the 12 Pro Max. You're gonna get a big, beautiful 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR display, the largest iPhone screen ever, and all of the different and unique advantages that go along with it. You're gonna get the better camera system. You're gonna get the new telephoto lens, the larger sensor, the sensor shift stabilization technology, the bigger battery. You're gonna get it all. But I think the bigger question here is, if you're on the fence, how much do you value camera? More importantly, how much do you, again, really value camera? Because the iPhone 12 Pro has a fantastic camera system that, again, is versatile. Video recording on it is fantastic with Dolby Vision HDR. It's got a great processor. The differences here are really going to come down to the larger sensor and probably the stabilization technology with sensor shift inside. But what if you're like me and kind of on the fence? Oftentimes I make the mistake that I think I need to have the best iPhone. I think I need to have the best camera. I'm gonna totally utilize that better camera. I'm gonna need it. I tend to really get that in my head and I start to believe it when I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I love shooting photos and all that on the iPhone 12 Pro, but I don't think I'm necessarily going to take better photos in my case with the 12 Pro Max. I think I get this idea in my head that it's going to be so much better. It's going to give me so much more versatility. It's going to give me better video, when that's not always the case, at least for me and those like me who like to take great looking photos, but really don't want to have to sacrifice the form and the functionality of the 12 Pro to go with that larger display. But if you're like me and you're on the fence, I think it's worth waiting a little longer. Wait until the Apple Circle can get our hands on the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max side by side to give you real results, to do some real A/B testing, to visually show you the differences in camera and other things between those two phones. Wait till you can hold the two side by side in your hand and really understand the portability or the functionality of the 12 Pro or the lack thereof on the 12 Pro Max. I think it's worth waiting just a little longer. I think for many people, the Pro Max is going to be great. It serves a market of enthusiasts who really like a larger screen iPhone and really want the best possible camera they can get. But I think for a lot of people like me who want to take great looking photos, shoot great looking videos, and want a pro-end iPhone, you're not missing that much on the Pro. I think it's a really great phone, though wait a little longer because I might just eat my words. All right, so what do you guys think? 12 Pro versus 12 Pro Max. Which iPhone are you picking up, or which one would you pick up? Would you wait a little longer for the Pro Max? Do you think the differences in the camera systems are going to be significantly different between these two phones? Or do you think the 12 Pro is going to offer enough for most people and the Pro Max is really reserved for the power users and the photographers and those who really kind of know what they can really do and take advantage of on that larger system? I'd love to know. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you guys as always for watching. I am Robert Rosenfeld, and I will see ya in the next one.